Hello and welcome to another video from Supraliminal Entertainment. My name is Jayrod, and today it's another kind of random video that I'm doing. I'm going to be building a Lego. And in addition to building the Wolverine Lego that is a mech suit for some reason, and the minifig, I'm going to do a little bit of conversation, rambling about the MCU and the things that they've been doing and announced at, the Comic-Con and what people expect to hear at D23. So join me as I build Lego and talk nerd mutant things. So not that I haven't had rambly videos before, but this is certainly going to be one of the more rambly, I think, because concentrating and building Legos and having a conversation with myself, it'll be a little weird, but shouldn't be too bad. And it's a fairly small set, so this video won't be too long, but I definitely wanted to talk a little bit about what Marvel and the MCU have been doing with, not just mutants, but, overall. And obviously, spoilers, speculation, warning, whatever you want to call it. So I'm actually fairly late to seeing the Multiverse of Madness. There it is. Doctor Strange movie. I hadn't seen it in theaters. I mean, a lot of people haven't been seeing things in theaters over the past couple of years, obviously, so that wasn't too strange. Pun. But, it's been on Disney Plus, and I was waiting till I also saw the Spider-Man No Way Home movie before I watched Doctor Strange, because obviously he plays a role in both of those things. So, I was obviously very happy with what they did with the alternate versions of some characters that had yet to appear in the MCU or very poorly appeared in the MCU. I haven't watched all of Inhumans, but I do know that Black Bolt was a little bit underutilized and poorly utilized in the Inhumans show that came out a few years ago. So I was happy to see the actor who portrayed him on the show get a different version and a more, comic accurate version. And just, got to do a little bit more. They didn't go into it much with the Inhumans, but they got to show what his character was capable of. In addition, one of the obvious ones was Reed Richards. Obviously, a lot of people have been talking about John Krasinski playing Reed Richards because he looks so much like him. And everyone's like, yeah, I'm all for it. Obviously, he did, I think, pretty well. But it is going to be interesting if they decide they want to go for a younger cast because, while he's younger than some of the superheroes I've had. He's only 42. So, Ant-Man, Iron Man, they were older, especially at their, peak of being those superheroes. So if they decided they wanted to go ahead and utilize Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, they could do that, but it would be more difficult because they couldn't do a full origin story like they may want to. They certainly wouldn't be able to do, them. They could do younger. They could do the de-aging process a little bit if they wanted to do a quick origin and then go right into his story. But, in the movie, he mentions that he has children. And in the comics, he also has children. So, to go from the character not being in the universe to all of a sudden being an established character with children would be very difficult. So I feel like what's going to happen... Let me try to adjust the lighting a little bit here. What may end up happening is they're going to just go ahead and recast him and have that be an alternate version in the other universe. And he may never get to be the character again, which is a shame because I think he did really well. But, I think he got to be the character that everyone wanted to see him be. And I think he did it well, but if they decide to go in another direction, I won't be mad. Just a little, disappointed, but that's okay. And then, bringing it back to what I'm doing here, the other kind of surprise cameo, I guess you could say. Because people kind of expected a Captain Marvel. It was neat seeing Rambeau as Marvel instead of Carol Danvers. And Captain Carter was also really neat from the What If storyline. But Charles Xavier, being the first official mutant in the MCU, was, a great choice. Bringing back Patrick Stewart, obviously a wonderful choice, because he can pull that character off no matter what, it seems. Like, no matter what he's looking like. Everyone thought, Logan would be the last time he portrayed it, but, he was able to be that character again and bring gravitas to a very small cameo. But it definitely brought, a lot to it. So, they introduced mutants in that very simple way. But into the main universe, they didn't introduce mutants until Miss Marvel, obviously. For anyone who hasn't watched that. Again, if you're listening to this after I said the spoiler thing, yeah, that's fine. But there are obviously spoilers. This one's not huge, and it's not a big deal, I don't think. But in the MCU now, in the main storyline, they have made Miss Marvel a mutant rather than an Inhuman, like in the comics, which was an interesting choice. I'm not seeing this piece. This is part of why I was mentioning how me rambling and talking and concentrating on Legos at the same time would be a bit more rambly. Love the look of that shield. So, yeah. Why am I not seeing this piece? Get blades. Friggin' giant Wolverine claws. Okay. It's because it was tilted weird. Alright. Back to what I was trying to ramble on. So, at the end of the season, maybe series, depending on if they go back to it, but at the end of the season, it was revealed that, the reason why she was able to use powers that the rest of her family wasn't able to was because of a mutation. And they also played the, couple, 7-note sting of the X-Men cartoon intro. To kind of really drive home the point that, oh wow, it's a mutant. So she's mutated in some way. So, I was really happy to hear the little sting of the intro. But I was also, wondering, if that's the way they want to do it. Cool. They have had other opportunities. They've brought in like locations of X-Men things, Madripoor from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They could have easily had like a quick cameo of a mutant there, something simple or silly like that. But they, elected to go this route, which is, it should be fine. I don't see why not. So, it'll be interesting to see what they do with mutants going forward. Okay. I am also, when it comes to Lego, I am very simplistic. I always just follow directions, like, step by step. I'm like, I could try to fudge my way through it, and I think I know where things would go, but I'm not too worried about that. Especially if I'm trying to doing talking at the same time. Where did these go? I am very excited for a few of the projects coming up. I haven't seen Thor yet, because again, that's still in theaters. And, I'm still patiently waiting for it to be on Disney+. And then Disney Plus is getting a lot more action. There's She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. So that's coming out in about 2 weeks from my recording of this video. It should be almost out by the time you see this. That should be a lot of fun. I don't know. I know some of the character points for She-Hulk. I didn't read much of her stuff. One of my main points of reference for She-Hulk is in the Civil War storyline from 2006-2007. She helped Howard the Duck regain his citizenship so he could, exist as a hero. Because when he went to register originally, he was told he didn't have to because he wasn't, existing in any of the records. So at first he was really happy about it, but then he couldn't do anything that he wanted to. So he had to get that fixed. So he hired a lawyer. I know a little bit about her character. I'm looking forward to some of the cameos that are expected to happen that have been spoiled and some that haven't. So I really hope to see some really cool one-off characters that they otherwise wouldn't use. Maybe this is where they throw a couple more mutant characters in just to further that bit of story. Because obviously, if they want to establish mutants as already existing, they'll have to actually introduce some. And while there's plenty to introduce that could, actually get X-Men, proper, like Wolverine, there's definitely a few that can be introduced that are either a part of the X-Men universe or even the other teams like X-Force. I doubt they'd throw Deadpool into a TV show before giving him his own movie, but at the same time, that would probably be a perfect way to throw Deadpool in. So I'd love to see Deadpool make an appearance in the She-Hulk TV series. Following the TV series, there's a proposed Halloween special that would star the Werewolf by Night. And this is obviously, not something a lot of people know about, because it's a character I wasn't too familiar with until Tim from my local comic book store, the comic book store, And Max introduced me to Moon Knight. And Moon Knight, who has already had his own series this year, his first appearance was in the comic book Werewolf by Night. Hence why that would actually be a really neat series to see. The werewolf, there's a few different versions, and I can't recall the name, and I'm doing this all without notes because I'm already following Lego instructions, so trying to do that with notes would be even worse. But there's a few different versions of the character, and it's literally just a storyline that's like the werewolf from like Universal Monsters. And he is attempting to not hurt other people and protect his own village or town or whatever it is, all while dealing with the curse of being a werewolf. Alright, so I'm supposed to do 2 of those. Good to know. So that looks like it could be pretty funny, because if they do it in a way that's like maybe a little bit horror, but in a Marvel style, I think that could be a lot of fun. And they may try to have Moon Knight make an appearance, which would be pretty cool. I would love to see more Oscar Isaac, because he did so well as Moon Knight. But nothing official has been said for him coming back yet, so that's all speculation. Alright. Ooh, he's got legs. Yeah, I don't know what made me want to... Like, this is a pretty affordable set. It was like $10. And I was like, you know what? It's kind of a neat little build. But, you know, minifigures like this are $4 to $5 a piece in blind boxes. And Wolverine's one I would absolutely love having. So I was like, I'm going to grab him. So, I'm very happy to have that. Alright. So following the Halloween special, that is, at this point, no one has really said anything about it, besides that it should be happening, and Michael Giacchino, the composer, is set to direct it, which I'm very happy for him for, because he is an amazing composer and musical director, and has done a lot of music for a lot of things I like. So for him to branch out into directing, I know he has already done some. It will be very cool to see even more of that from him. What are the pieces? So while, you know, the Halloween special is something that not a lot of people are aware of what it's going to be, because they haven't said anything about it. One thing that has come out as being, you know, an existing project is me missing a piece. That's okay. Easy fix. Is the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, which, again, who knows what they're going to try to do with it. God, these instructions are very tiny. I'm sitting here with them and I'm having trouble seeing what they are. Okay, there's a piece like that, but aim the other way. Aimed the other way. Better. Am I gonna have to make like 4 of these things? Jeez. I think next time I'll get something a little bit more contrasty as opposed to a black table. You know, this is my first time recording a video in my new house, so yeah, you get what you get. So yeah, the Christmas special is something that, you know, has been, people are aware of it. It takes place between the Guardians' appearance in the new Thor movie, which again I haven't seen, but I know that they appear because I pay attention to all the news. In between Thor movie and Guardians 3, which comes out in 2023. So, everyone's very excited to see that. But yeah. I'm not entirely sure if that ends Phase 4 or if the Wakanda Forever film that comes out in November is the end of Phase 4 officially. But that movie will be very somber to watch. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with some of the characters that they're going to introduce. But obviously, after Chadwick's passing, God, almost 2 years ago now, it'll be very interesting to see what they attempt to do with that part of the MCU. And people have been going back and forth. Originally, nobody wanted to have anybody else play the character. Now there's people talking about they want Marvel to have recast it, but, that outcry came after the movie had already been filmed. Or at least it was already being written with the intention of not recasting the character at this point. Or at least not announcing that it was going to be recast. So who knows? I don't have any strong opinions on whether or not it should be recast, because, while the big points were, wanting to have that character of T'Challa still remain in the MCU for the sake of people who want to see characters like them. For the young, black kids, especially, that finally got to see themselves as, like, the main hero. This is obviously before Sam Wilson became Captain America in the series. That was something that they didn't really have. They saw him, they saw other black superheroes usually as, like, the sidekick, especially in Marvel. So for them, that character meant a tremendous amount. And again, this is me just basing it off of what I've seen and what I've heard people saying. I can't relate, obviously. So. But then when he passed away, there was talk of wanting to have it recast, not wanting to have it recast. It all depended on what people thought they should do. And originally, a lot of what I heard was people saying that they shouldn't recast the character because, and I agreed with the fact that he did so well, it would be very difficult to put anybody else in a position to try to match his performance in any kind of way. So, for that, I agree. I also agree that the character could have been recast, because sometimes that works, and obviously it's done most of the time for reasons that aren't tragic. Mark Ruffalo replacing Ed Norton as the Hulk became a huge success. Don Cheadle replacing Terrence Howard, again, amazingly successful choice. So these situations where recasting happens, not for a tragic reason, it usually goes over pretty well. Because there was a tragic thing that happened, it became more of a controversy than it should have. So, I don't know what else to say really about that. When that movie comes out, I will want to try to go see it in theaters. Maybe not in the immediate run, maybe a few weeks after, just to still see it in theaters. But it'll certainly be a very strange experience going to see that. Knowing what some of the story points have to be because of them choosing to not recast the character and instead of having him pass. I got emotional when I heard Chadwick Boseman's voice in What If, especially some of the lines he had were so, I don't want to even say fortuitous because he was one of the only people that knew how sick he was, but they definitely imbued a sense of like him being fully aware. Like it felt like he knew that this would be one of the last times he could play the character. He was obviously hopeful that wouldn't be the case, but I think he had a sense of wanting to have the character every time he got to play any version of T'Challa. I think he wanted to make sure he put as much of his heart into it as he possibly could. So, yeah. But anyway, enough about how sad these things make me, because that's not why I'm talking about it here. So yeah. 2023 is, at least as far as I can tell, the official start of Phase 5. And it starts with the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania movie project, which brings Jonathan Majors back as the actual version of Kang, not just the He Who Remains at the end of Loki Season 1. But that role and his performance there made me so excited to see him do more. I still have to watch Lovecraft Country because I've heard great things about that and his performance in that. So I'm very excited to see more from him. But there's obviously a whole bunch of other projects. Guardians 3, very excited to see. What else? I'm more just excited for Phase 6 because they've announced the Fantastic Four movie, which again, don't know what they plan on doing, whether they are going to go ahead and use a younger group of actors for the Fantastic Four, or if John Krasinski's going to get his chance to play a full version of Reed Richards, and not just a 5-minute version. What is this? Okay. Then the 2 Avengers movies that they have announced. The Kang Dynasty, which is just going to be even more stuff with Kang, obviously. And Secret Wars, which I will admit I have not watched or not read the original Secret Wars. Like I'm very aware of a lot of it. I've probably read a handful of panels from the comics run back in the 80s, I think. My big experience with Secret Wars was in the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s. I have a feeling that's probably a very, very big likelihood that that's a lot of people's experience with it. So I'm excited to see, what they do with the movie version. I do know Spider-Man plays a huge role in both, and based on what happened in the most recent Spider-Man movie, they could go many different directions with this version of Secret Wars. They may choose to to make sure I'm still on camera. Keep Spider-Man as like the main protagonist and have everyone work around what he wants. They may go a slightly different direction, use some of the other newer Avengers that they've introduced, or new versions of characters, such as the new Captain America. I don't really know what their plan is, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing the Secret Wars movie. Alright. Where are the things? So, the colors, they kind of match, but at first glance, these look more gray than that looks more black. But these are actually both dark gray. So yeah. Definitely interested to see if D23 has any announcements for an X-Men or a Mutants movie. I know there's been talk about Kevin Feige literally saying that the word mutants and the word X-Men are going to be fairly interchangeable at a point in the Marvel Universe. So I'd love to know if that means that at any point they may introduce a group of mutants who are the X-Men, but only ever call them mutants for the first little while until they have their own movie. At the same time, I would love to know, are they going to have them be pre-existing? Or are they going to try to do like a, introducing them as though they were brought in from another universe? I will say that back after Endgame and before Far From Home, the second Spider-Man movie, I did do like a post on Instagram, and I'll try to remember to link it, of all of my predictions for what the next couple years of movies was going to be. And I got pretty darn close. Like, I had in there that they may try to introduce mutants in the Multiverse of Madness, and they brought in Professor Xavier. So I was like right on with that. If you haven't seen the preview for the next Black Panther movie, obviously this is before Chadwick passed, but I did predict that it could be essentially like, I referred to it as Clash of Kings, because I have felt like this would be a good opportunity for them to introduce Namor. There was the not so subtle hint about an earthquake underwater off the coast of Africa in Avengers Endgame. For anyone who knew who the character Namor was, once they said that line, it was pretty obvious that they were setting up, obviously, some sort of underwater adventure, and having Okoye give that line made it pretty obvious that they were going to introduce that character with the Black Panther, or at least in now Wakanda, being the center point of the conflict between those two factions. Okay, this is a very interesting piece of equipment I'm making, I think. And I think I have to make its identical cousin shortly. Oh, it's so weird. It's got weird 3 little fingers. It's giving a weird thumbs up. Thumbs up. I'll hold it in front of the white. So, it's definitely going to be an interesting next couple of years for Marvel fans such as myself. I'm very excited to see the decisions they make on a few characters that I'm really hoping to see soon. Obviously, I love the X-Men. Would love to see even a couple of them show up. Like Colossus from the Deadpool version. Absolutely loved that. I was definitely a big fan of that portrayal of the character because it was so straightforward but simple. And he's always been one of my favorites, so getting him in there would be a lot of fun to see for sure. I don't know when they plan on introducing any more of the mutants, but I hope it is soon. I've always been a fan of the Fantastic Four, but I'm very hesitant to be excited about any Fantastic Four movie, mostly because of how it's gone the last few times they've tried to give us a Fantastic Four movie. But I am hopeful that they'll get it a little closer to right this time. Mostly because... where do they go in the top part? Okay. Marvel has shown that it can do a little bit better with their own IPs compared to other studios. The last few X-Men movies were starting to not be great. So when Fox sold all of their movie rights to Disney, as a fan, I was excited. As somebody who understands how the movie industry should work, I was terrified that there was going to be another giant studio going away, and that, voices from different creators might get a little bit quieter. They've definitely shown that based on how Morbius did, Spider-Man and Spider-Man related characters are much better off in the hands of Marvel than they are in the hands of Sony. But who knows if they're going to allow them to make those kind of choices again. We'll see if... So there's also an Iron Man and a Black Panther version of these. I've seen both, but I saw this one first and just decided to pick it up. So in closing, very excited to see what Marvel does with all the characters they haven't utilized yet. Some of the ones they just touched on in, Professor X and Reed Richards. And I want to see if they can utilize all of the characters that they have based on the storylines they've already put forward. Removing other characters like Steve Rogers, Tony Stark. They can still make the movies they want to make, but the characters won't look like what we may have expected to see when we first heard that they were going to be able to use all these characters. But either way, hopefully you enjoyed my rambling. Hopefully you enjoyed me putting together a ridiculous mech that Wolverine probably would never use. But I think it looks actually kind of badass. So I'm really happy I picked that up for like $10. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure you follow us over here. I'm going to point on the camera, I think, to our Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and our Twitter. This is actually really hard because I have to pull it down. And also make sure you follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Supraliminal we do plenty of other stuff on there and on YouTube here. We're trying some new things soon, but I wanted to go back to me just playing with Legos again, because I've done that on stream a couple times, I've done a video a couple times, and it's frankly one of my favorite ways to enjoy the IPs I enjoy. So, yeah, thank everyone for being here, hanging out, listening to me, and make sure you do all the things that make us happy, like liking the video and sharing it with people who may also like the video. God, I'm good at this. Bye, everyone.